greatest of all teachers and giver of love, hope, faith, and wisdom, look upon your children, the teachers, learners, parents, guardians, and out-of-school youth and adults. We humbly ask for your mercy and forgiveness. Guide us to the right path. May our efforts be blessed with insights and understanding, wisdom and respect for all. Bless us with patience, for the path of learning is never easy. Bless our commitment to keep on learning new knowledge and experiences. Let your light shine upon us as we make our world a better place to live in. Amen.
Browsing and learning to use the internet is, yes, one of the easiest and funnest things to do today. A click here, another click there, and we can be anywhere. You can meet people from around the world. Hi! Read amazing stories and histories of the past. Ooh. And even have a glance of what may be seen in the future. But remember, using the internet without proper guidance and enough knowledge can also be one of the scariest we can ever imagine. Ooh! Imagine going on an online trip, seeing the beauty of the place, when suddenly, potential scams pop up and block your way. Scams? These are dishonest tricks used to deceive people. And we don't want that to happen to any of us. So, be your own hero online. Be internet alert. If it's too good to be true, then it's most likely fake. Fair exchanges shouldn't ask for your personal information. Always think twice or ask for the assistance of your parents and guardians before accessing a new site. Be on guard for possible phishing that will ask you to log in and give your important personal details. Whew! That was close. Good thing I am internet alert. Remember, any effort to steal your information may be a form of scam. So always trust your intuition and distinguish what's real and what's fake online. This has been your online hero, Ma'am Jennifer, reminding you to beware by being aware, keep your learning safe, and don't fall for fake.
Teacher Kat, nakamute po.
Sorry for that. Thank you so much, Sir Rainier. Once again, good evening po to all our Googley educators, students, parent teachers watching tonight. Ayan, so it was once again a wonderful Wednesday evening to be trained and be assisted in the best conduct of synchronous learning and virtual teaching. This is brought to us by the Department of Education in partnership through the ICTS EdTech Unit in collaboration with Google for Educators Group Philippines. Welcome once again sa ating The Googley Filipino Teachers. I am Teacher Kat, your Googley Filipino body today. Ayan, so last week, diba, we have a very interesting discussion, no, about Google Forms discussed to us by teacher Mika. Her topic was about going optimistic in utilizing Google applications for greater learning experience. So last week, di ba, we have seen that Google Forms is not only for assessment purpose. Napatunayan natin last week sa ating session na Google Forms can do more and be more. Ayan, so that is our 10th episode. Now, tonight, para sa ating 11th episode, we will explore the 5 E's with Google Slide with our very competent speaker. Ayan, I promise you sa ating mga viewers na napakahusay ng ating speaker tonight. Now, before I formally introduce her to you, okay, so allow me to read some of the greetings tonight. Ayan, good evening, Ma'am Abesha. Ayan, from SJDM. Also, good evening po, Ma'am Evelyn Tadaya Gorospe from Marabulig, ESSDO, Kawayan City. We also have Ma'am Nancy Nance Pagulayan from Solana, Cagayan Valley. So sabi nga nila, no, ito ay nagiging isang Wednesday habit na ang ating The Googley Filipino teachers. Actually, ito rin ang palagi kong sinusubaybayan every Wednesday. Ayan, good evening din po, Ma'am Maria Cecilia Vasconcillo, watching from Lucrecia Casilag Senior High School, SDO, Quezon City. All right. We also have Ma'am Evelyn Gorospe from Marabulig ES, SDO, Kawayan City. So, i-share nyo na po ang ating live today, no, para makatulong din po tayo, no, sa ating mga kapwa teachers, sa ating mga kapwa parents. And I'm sure na magiging makabuluhan ang ating Wednesday night with our topic today. So, my Wednesday night habit, sabi ni Sir Eddie Davin. Good evening daw, mga kaguro from SDO, Santiago City. Okay. Ayan, we also have Sir Michael Mahor from Vigan City, Ilocos Sur. So, literally, no, the Googley Filipino teachers reach from Luzon, Visayas, up to Mindanao. So, talagang para tong teleserye, di ba, na sinusubaybayan every Wednesday night. Now, good evening din po, Ma'am Marilyn Epis from San Pedro, Sogod, Southern Leyte Division. Ayan. So, wag niyo pong kalimutan to take a screenshot or whenever magpo-post po tayo, we learn something new from our session, please use the hashtag Google for Educator, the Googley Filipino Teachers. Ayan, so I'm sure na marami po tayong matututunan today and you are very much excited sa ating session. So ano nga kaya ito? Alright, so let us now formally begin our session tonight. So allow me to introduce to you our speaker today. Our speaker today is Mrs. June Maog. She graduated from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, with a Bachelor of Science degree major in Industrial Engineering. Wow. She is a full-time faculty member of St. Joseph's Academy in Las Piñas, where she currently teaches Science 8 and General Physics. She describes herself as a full-time classroom teacher and part-time edtech coach for Look Beyond Digital Learning Solutions. She is a pilot trainer for the Be Internet Awesome pilot training for public school teachers. She is also part of the Google Virtual Innovator Academy this year, or the VIA 21 cohort. Now, in her 15 years as a teacher, she has authored, science books for grade 4, 5, and 6, and has written and published a journal for her master's class. She has recently earned a Google Certified Trainer badge. Now, let us all welcome our 11th speaker for our Googley Filipino teachers, Miss June Maog. Good evening.
Good evening, Teacher Kat, and to everyone
Yes.
watching this weekly habit. Ang ganda pakinggan nun, Teacher Kat, the weekly habit
Yes.
for the series, The Googley Filipino Teacher. Good evening din po yung sa team ng nasa behind the scenes nitong broadcast, yung Teacher Rainer at Teacher MJ. Ayun. Sa lahat po ng members or part of DepEd as well as the DepEd EdTech Unit. Good evening as well.
Ready na po
Thank
ba
you.
tayo, Miss June Maog?
Ready as I'll ever
Ready
be, miss.
na.
Kinakabahan ako,
Yes.
pero sige, let's do this.
Yes, so, ayan. So, I'll give you the floor na po, Miss June.
All right. Thank you very much, Ma'am Kat. Okay, so once again, good evening, and I am Mrs. June Maog, and I'll be your speaker for tonight. I'll be speaking about, let me just move my slide. The 5 E's with Google Slides. Okay, so what are the 5 E's? Later on, I launch Mentimeter and I will be asking you to answer some questions for me. Okay, but for now, let's continue with the presentation. So let me just give you very briefly what the objectives are for this talk. So there are just 3 objectives. Actually, the last one I just added, it's more of a goal rather than an objective, but I also want to put it in here just to remind everyone that there's a quiz that you need to answer right after this. So the other objectives are: number one, of course, to understand the 5E model and each of its components. So a 5E model, the complete name is actually the 5E instructional model, or the 5E model, or we can just call it the 5Es. And then the next one is to be able to apply or integrate the 5E model in your teaching and siguro evaluate the difference between what you normally do and when you have applied the 5E model already. Okay? So those are the objectives for tonight. And then the flow of the presentation would go this way. I just have 5 steps. No, I'd like to call it steps. So step one, I'll be introducing to you the 5E instructional model. Very briefly lang po ito, and I'll just be giving you really brief history of the 5E instructional model, as well as the common things that have been said about the 5E instructional model based on the articles that I've read and based on the YouTube videos that I have watched. And then we move on to step two, which is basically about each of the 5Es that are part of the 5E model. And then we move on to some tasks or activities that you can maybe give to your students pertaining to each of the components of the 5E model. And of course, since this is a webinar for the Googley Filipino teacher, I'll also be giving you some suggested apps that you can use per task, no, for each of the tasks, and also per E, no? So later on, we'll go to that. And then lastly, I'll be showing you just some sample plans that I've created using the 5E model. These plans are actually based on just a topic, not per topic. And good evening, Ma'am Rowena. It's going to be by topic, but ideally, when you use the 5E model, it should be planned per unit. And time is also very important. So it's not something that should be rushed. But I know no at this time, well, madalas rush tayo sa ating mga gawain. But ideally, when you use the 5E model, dapat hindi rush, especially some of the important components now from within the 5E model. And then lastly, you might be wondering, where does Google Slides fit into the picture? Walang nakalagay na Google Slides yan. So at the end of my talk, I'll be telling you what is the role of Google Slides in all of this. All right? So if we are ready, let's go ahead to the next slide. And this is the part where I will be asking you to go to menti.com. Let me just launch it so that you can see it on screen. Oops. Here it is. Okay, let me just present it. Sorry. There. So it's supposed to be, well, it's supposed to be a word cloud, but you can't see, but my question is actually, how are you feeling today? So please, everyone, go to menti.com, open a new tab and go to menti.com and use the code 70129420. And then just answer. My question is supposed to be, and it's supposed to be shown there. How are you feeling tonight? Yan. How are you feeling tonight, teachers? And again, let me just reiterate how happy I am to hear that this has become a Wednesday habit for most of you. Wow, happy! Thank you very much po. So a lot of people, kasi sobrang laki ng word cloud, so ibig sabihin a lot of you answered happy. Wow, that makes me so happy, excited. Ayan. Keep it coming, teachers. In love. Wow, sana all in love. Ano po, kakatapos lang ng Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to all po pala. There. So what else? So basically, everyone's feeling excited, happy, and in love. Wow, those are the best feelings in the world. Okay, meron pa po ba? Blessed. Of course. Of course. No, we're always blessed. No, we're alive, so we're blessed. Oh, and someone's feeling googly. Very good. Inspired. Wow. Motivated. What else? Hungry. I can relate to that. Sleepy. Tired. Yes. Those are the things that we normally feel at the end of the day. Ano po? Ayan. But, sige po, I'll do my best. I'll do my best in this talk, no, to give you energy and to make you feel excited. All right. Someone said grateful. Nice. You should always be grateful for anything, right? And exhausted. Oh my. Okay lang po. I'll just be speaking for like an hour and then after that, pwede na po tayo mag-rest. Or you can rest as you watch. There. So, looking at the words that are big compared to the others, most of you are feeling excited. So I'm happy with that because I'm also excited to be in front of you right now. Ayan, inspired. Okay. There you go. And hello po, Sir Bernardo Jr. Ayan. All right. So I guess that's it. Let's now move on to the next question. Okay, once again, my question is not here, but the question is, are you familiar with the 5 E's? If you are, can you tell me what you know about it? So that's my question. Are you familiar with the 5 E's? If you are, please tell me what you know about it. If you're not, maybe you can just tell me, this is the first time I've heard of it. Or I don't know much about it. Ayan, not sure. Thank you very much. No. Okay. So medyo bago pa po, no idea yet. Ayan. Blessed and excited si ma'am or sir. Wow, good for you po. Ayan, merong may alam na. Explore, enrich, evaluate, elaborate, and explain. So mamaya po, tignan natin. Ano po talaga yung mga verbs na kalakip nitong 5E model? So first time to hear it, first time to hear, not sure, no. 5E's model, ayan, meron ding mga binigay na E's. Engagement, exploration, explanation, elaboration, evaluation, okay? And someone's willing to learn about it and someone's sad. Oh no. Okay lang po yun. Tomorrow will be a better day. I promise you. There. So most of you answered it's a first time to hear about it. No idea, a little knowledge, no idea yet. It's a procedure in science. Wow, someone who answered it knows a little about the 5E model. Kasi sige, sabihin ko na rin po. The 5E model actually started in the US and it came about because they wanted a change in their science education. They felt that children were not getting or were not learning what they need to learn. So they a change in the way that the curriculum is presented should be given. So then they thought of the 5E instructional model. Thank you po. And then someone said, engage, explore, explain, elaborate, extend. Wow. Halos yun na po yun. And then it's used in science classes, then change it into 7 E's. Ooh, 7 E's na po pala, no? But for now, I'll be talking about the original 5 E's that were proposed by the biological sciences curriculum back in around the end of the 1980s or around 1990s. All right, so I guess that's it. Thank you very much, teachers, for your participation dito sa ating Mentimeter. Let me now go back to my presentation. Okay, so moving forward, so let's now go to what the 5E model is. Some of you have a really good idea of what it is, but most of you don't know anything about it yet, which is good because that's why I'm here. I'm here to tell you what the 5E model is. And in case medyo bitin yung discussion ko, I'm happy to tell you that there are a lot of reference materials that you can access via Google search, and there's also a lot of YouTube videos that you can watch pertinent to the 5E model. Okay, so let's start. So the first thing that you need to know about the 5E model is this. It's actually, well, we can say that the main proponents are Bybee and Lands back in 1990. Well, I actually researched about it. Some materials will tell you that it's the BSCS who came up with it, but there are also some materials who specifically mention Bybee and Lands. Okay, and then the 5E model is based on the constructivism theory of learning. So all of us as teachers, we know what constructivism is. This is where students are left to construct understanding and knowledge of a material or a topic, right? And uh, students are left to, well, not really left, but they are guided to develop their own understanding of a particular topic, right? And then the next would be the role of the teacher. Basically, when you use the 5E model, the teacher acts as facilitator or mentor, which is, I think, something that has been told to us no, for many years by our coordinators, by our principals. No, they constantly tell us, you as teacher should be just the facilitator. No, you don't hug everything. You don't monopolize the conversation, right? So using the 5E model, it would really be best if the teacher acts as facilitator. And then next, it's a learning journey for students. So as I mentioned a while ago, it's based on the constructivist theory of learning. I forgot to mention that this is also inquiry based. So going back, it's inquiry based and it's guided learning. So in other words, as a teacher jumpstarts a new unit, there has to be an activity that stimulates the students mentally. Okay, and normally that activity starts with an inquiry or a question, no, a challenging question posed by the teacher. So again, it's a learning journey for students, and it's not a journey that they take alone. Most of the time, they have their peers, and they have shared experiences with their peers, and they try to develop their understanding along with their group of peers. So in other words, masarap mag-journey no kapag may mga kasama ka. Masarap magkamali rin no pag may mga kasama ka kasi meron ka ring mga kasama para maghanap ng solusyon dun sa pagkakamali mo or makorek yung pagkakamali mo. So the 5E model is a learning journey for students. And also, this is where there would be a constant representation of thinking or basically understanding. So students are given the chance to refine and redefine their understanding of a particular concept. And again, they are not alone in their when they refine or redefine their understanding. There's always a group of people with them, and of course, the teacher is always with the students. And then next, again, since this is a learning journey for students, this is where students take control of their own learning. They use their own words to explain things. They do hands-on investigations. They talk among themselves, and when they encounter a problem or an error, they seek for ways to find solutions for that particular error or problem along with their peers. Okay, and then also just because students take control over their own learning, that doesn't mean that teachers uh, teachers don't have to level up their learning or their knowledge as well, no? Their arsenal of knowledge. The 5E model actually allows teachers to have confidence in how they teach because it motivates teachers to learn more, to learn more about the topics that she is teaching her students, because we know that as teachers we always need to be uh, three or more steps above our students. No, we should always know more than them. Okay, and then lastly, as we have seen from all of the features of the 5E model, of course, the 5E model should benefit not just the students but also the teachers. And according to the articles that I've read, teachers have seen a huge improvement in the way that students understand abstract concepts, particularly in science, because if you remember, the 5E model actually started with science education, but then eventually evolved into something that all of the subject areas can actually employ or integrate into their own curriculum. So again, this is not just for science. Okay, so moving on. So I hope you teachers are still fine. Okay, so those basically, the previous slide is basically the basic things that we need to know about the 5E model. Let's now talk about what are the 5Es. So kanina when I gave you the Mentimeter poll to answer, some of you actually came up with a set of E's, no? You came up with a set of E's. So tignan po natin ano po talaga yung mga E's. And to those who are saying good evening and watching from somewhere, good evening po again sa inyong lahat. All right, so let me now go to the first E. The first E is actually, meron pong nakakuha nito dun sa Mentimeter kanina. This is the engage part. Engage. And if you think of this part is actually similar to when we're creating our lesson plan. No, this is the motivation part of our lesson plan. So this is the engage part. This is actually where we elicit the prior knowledge that students have about this new topic that we are presenting to them. And of course, we need to keep in mind as teachers that when we present the topic, we should pique or stimulate the interest and curiosity of our students. No, you don't just say, "Ay, guys, ang topic natin ngayon, quantum numbers." And then yun na, yun na yung ating motivation part. So we have to be creative, no, in thinking of ways to make it sound like more interesting for our students. So that's the engage part. And what's good about the engage part is this is also where we can gather actually diagnostic data, and then we can refine um, our unit plan or our lesson plans accordingly, now based on the data that we gather at this stage of the 5E model. Okay, the engage part. Okay, and this is also the part where we actually get to correct any misconceptions in any if any, sorry, particular to the topic for that we will be discussing. Okay, and it's very much important that we as teachers learn to what's this? Learn to pick all of these misconceptions, and then we do our best to correct them now as we go along with the discussion. So that is the engage part. I hope that is understood, teachers. Okay, the engage part. All right, let's now go back to let's go to the next E, which is oops, the explore part. Explore. So yung mga students natin parang nagiging Dora the Explorer, ano? Um, kailangan they should do hands-on investigations at this stage of the 5E model. You might be thinking, ay, hands-on investigation, so baka pang science teachers lang yan, baka pang laboratory experiments lang yan. Well, the answer is no, hindi po. So we just have to be creative, again, in thinking of ways by which we can actually give hands-on investigations that are not necessarily science lab experiments to our students, because we don't just teach science to them, we teach other subject areas as well. So, nasa creativity na po natin yun at sa taba ng utak ng mga teachers, no, in thinking of ways where we can also present, give them activities that actually mimic hands-on investigations inside the classroom or in this online setup, no? Paano natin magagawa yon ng nandoon lang sila sa harap ng laptop nila and they are not with us, magkakahiwa-hiwalay tayo. So we just need to be really creative. We have to do our research, in other words. Do our research so that we can we can give activities that are authentic and that would really develop their understanding of a particular topic. Okay? And then this is also the part where students get to talk to one another, get to collaborate with one another, they get to explore solutions to a problem or to an inquiry that the teacher has posed to them. So they get to represent their thinking. So they get to translate their observations into something that's tangible or into something. When I say tangible, it's something that they can actually explain in their own words. Okay, so that's the explore part. And the next E is what's known as explain. Explain. I've read in the articles that a lot of teachers actually have a misconception about the explain part of the 5E model. And in fact, I'm one of those teachers. The explain part daw kasi, some teachers or a lot of teachers think that the explain part is the part where teachers get to shine. So in other words, this is the part that we where we just talk to them and manipulate, no, manipulate the conversation. But the explain part should not be like that. No, all the information should not just come from the teacher. Valuable information or valuable bits of information that would help students develop their understanding should actually come from their interaction with each other and with their interaction with their teacher. So, what is the role of the teacher then during the explain part? So, this is actually the part where we show our presentations, we show our videos to them, but we don't manipulate. By this means that as we discuss, we should always ask HOTS questions, no, higher order thinking skills questions to our students. And then those questions are actually able to bring out misconceptions, if any, no? So engage part, that's supposed to be done already, but at any point in the 5 E's, there might be an opportunity to correct misconceptions. So i-grab din po natin yun. And it can happen in the explain part because this is the part where we converse with our students. And um, the major role of a teacher in this part is to just actually build the vocabulary of the student. So this is the part where we introduce to them the technical terms that they need to use when they're explaining about the concept. Okay po? So there. And then we have the fourth E, elaborate. Okay, elaborate. So just from the verb itself, elaborate. Elaborate means you explain some more, no, you expound some more. So this is the part where students get to apply what they have learned and try to acquire deeper understanding of the concept. Okay, so how do they do that? They actually apply their learning to new situations, or they probably think of connections with the new thing that they have learned with life, or maybe even connections with other subject areas. No? So this is the part where they make connections and they develop deeper understanding. And then finally, kanina may nagsagot, engage, explore, explain, elaborate, extend. Okay, let me just correct that. Yung extend po, that's also part of the elaborate stage, no? The elaborate stage of the 5E model. Pwede po nating tawaging elaborate, pwede rin nating tawaging extend. So they both belong to the same part of the 5E model. So the last E is actually a very important part of teaching and learning, which is evaluate. Okay, evaluate. Evaluate is where students get to review and reflect on the learning or their understanding of the topic that has been discussed in the unit. Okay, and this is also their chance to represent changes in the way that they understand the concept. So, in other words, we make students understand that knowledge evolves, understanding evolves, and that we are not stuck in just one stage of that knowledge. We actually get to iterate or iterate. Okay, so there has to be changes. There has to be better representations of abstract concepts, and even like a deeper understanding of everything that has been discussed in the unit. Okay, so teacher, so far, how are you? Can you type in the chat box? If you're still with me, are you still watching? Ayan. So Sir Alex watching from Kidapawan City. Good evening to you, sir. And Miss Emmeline Gromio watching from SDO Tuguegarao. Miss Mary Tess watching from SDO Cagayan. And Sir Carl watching from Oriental Mindoro. Ayan. And Ma'am Sue says she's still here. Thank you very much, Ma'am Sue. Ma'am Lily, good evening po from SDO Bacolod City. Ayan, still watching. Oy, enlightened. Enlightened si Ma'am Karen. Thank you very much po, Ma'am Karen, and everyone who responded to my question. All right, let's move forward. Okay, so let's now look at the roles that the teacher and student play per component of the 5E model. No? And mind you, these roles are not the only roles that teachers and students get to play. So these are like the basic roles, okay, based on each of the 5Es. And I'm actually the only one who established these roles based on the articles and the videos that I've seen. Okay, so in the engage part, the teacher basically acts as motivator, right? Because as I've mentioned a while ago, this is actually the motivation part of the lesson. And then the student, of course, should assume the role of a willing learner. Ang hirap magturo pag ang mga estudyante hindi willing matuto. Tama po ba ako? Na parang it takes a lot of effort on the part of the teacher to teach. Right? So dapat sana we inspire, we motivate, we encourage our students to always be willing learners. And they also realize that not everything that they study would be easy. No po, there would be topics that would be hard. Accept na lang nila. Accept the challenge and then just do their best to learn. So they should always be willing learners. And I guess the same goes for us teachers. In the explore part, the teacher acts as facilitator. Facilitator. So you let your students do hands-on investigations, and again, take note, this is not just for science. And then you just act as facilitator. If there's something that they did that you feel is incorrect, no, as much as possible, we wait for them to realize it. No? When I was teaching math, a lot of students would come to me and let's say I gave them a problem set to work on. A lot of students would come to me and then ask me to check their solution. And then I will tell them, or check again, there's something wrong. The usual thing that they would reply to me is, ni saan? Saan yung mali? So, ibig sabihin, gusto, i-point out ko na exactly where the mistake is. No? So, I just tell them, you check again and then you discover where you made an error. Don't ask that from me because I'm checking for your understanding. No? So marami pong ganong mga estudyante ngayon na medyo nagtatanong na agad saan yung mali. So wag natin sasagutin. We let them experience. No? We let them solve their own problems. Pero pag medyo sobrang nahihirapan na, then maybe that's the time we come in and extend a helping hand. Okay, and then the role of the student in the explore part is as collaborator. Because again, as they do their hands-on investigations, they are with the group. They are with the group of their peers. So it's something that they are supposed to enjoy. It's something that they are supposed to talk about with their peers. Okay, and then the next is the explain part. So in the explain part, again, the role of the teacher is mainly as vocabulary builder. So we just introduce to them all of the technical terms pertinent to the unit that we're teaching, so that when they discuss in more detail during the elaborate part, then they will be using the right vocabulary terms already. Okay. As science teachers and as math teachers, and even for other subject areas, we know that vocabulary is very important, right? And they should know the proper use of those vocabulary terms or the technical terms. And then the role of the student is, of course, as explainer. Explain part na eh. So this is the part where students get to explain, they get corrected, then they re-explain, right? So they're not always right the first time. So you lead them to the right answer or to the right understanding of the topic. Okay, and then on the elaborate part, this is where the teacher mainly acts as encourager or supporter, no? Encourager or supporter. So said, this is where students apply what they have learned into new situations or novel situations, and they make connections with what they have learned to real life, to other subject areas, etc. Okay? So, ang student role is as connector kasi they seek to find connections between what they have learned and to other things. And then finally, in the evaluate part, both teacher and student actually assume the role of evaluator. Okay? The teacher evaluates the learning while the student evaluates and reflects on his or her own learning. All right? So those are the respective teacher and student roles per E in the 5E model. Okay, I hope everything is still clear, teachers. Okay, let's move on to the next. All right. So these are now let me just discuss. We are actually on part three already of the flow of this presentation. We will be talking about some activities that you can give to your students as you go through each of the stages in the 5E model. Okay. So in the engage part, of course, this is where we pique the interest of our students. This is where we elicit their prior knowledge. So the best tasks that can be given are, of course, to ask a question, and not just any question, but hopefully a question that will challenge them. Okay, a question that's challenging, something that will stimulate them mentally. Okay, that kind of question. Um, and if you don't want to ask a question, maybe you can show a video that would pique their interest, a video that will activate their curiosity about the topic, and that can be the engage part already. Okay, and then what are some suggested apps that you can use? Of course, you can use Socrative. I know some of you are familiar with Socrative. You can just create a free account with Socrative, and you get a room where you can invite your students and then just launch quizzes or open-ended questions, multiple choice questions, etc., etc. So that's Socrative. And then we can also use Padlet. I know a lot of you teachers are already using Padlet, so pwede rin po. So if you have a question in mind, you can put that on a Padlet, and then students can just post their answers. And then, well, if you're teaching higher grade levels, you can also ask your students to comment on the answers of their classmates. Another app that you can use, of course, if you're using Google Classroom as your content management system, you can use the create a question feature. Okay, so you go to classwork, click on the create button, and then one of the options there would be um, question. So you get to ask a question, and then there's an option for students to be able to see the answers of their classmates as well. and they can comment on the answers. So this is again another way that you can actually do the engage part of the 5E model. Okay. Another, of course, is our favorite, Google Jamboard. No, you can just very quickly pull in a Google Jamboard. um, I think it's free for all education accounts, right? So for DepEd, we have the um, Google Workspace for Education Fundamentals. So it's possible to launch a Jamboard from within Google Meet. So pwede na po ito. So you can just maybe ask a question and then ask them to um, pull in a sticky note, or maybe just get a text box and put their answers. Okay. And then finally, but these are not all of the apps. Marami pa pong pwede. These are just some suggested apps. And by now, I think you can also think of other apps that can be used for this part of the 5E model. The last one is Mentimeter, which you have seen a while ago. Okay. So those are tasks that can be given in the engage part, and some suggested apps. Of course, again, before I forget pala, one other task that you can give for the engage part would be a brainstorming task. No? You can ask them to brainstorm about something and maybe create a concept map about it. Okay, so then that would be a really good engage task. Okay, so yon, let's go forward to the next E, which is explore. So this is the part where they are supposed to explore on their own, hopefully by doing hands-on investigations. So what are the tasks that can be given? So I've listed here just some tasks that are possible. You can ask them to do some a simple research. No, maybe you can ask them something like, what are quantum numbers? And then they can just research using Google search. Okay, Google search. And then you can also get a really good video. And again, don't forget to watch the video first before you let your students watch it. So you can get a lot of really good videos via YouTube. And if you are teaching science, PBS Learning Media is also a good site that you can use, and then you can just show videos and even complete the reference materials for your students. And then you can also ask them to maybe listen to a podcast, no? Listen to a podcast, and you can do this via many podcast apps. And I've learned about this recently. Spotify also has podcast charts, so maybe you can go through all of the available podcasts and check if there's something that you can use for class. Okay. And then we have, of course, you can ask them to read internet articles. Siyempre, pwedeng-pwede to. But to make sure that they actually read, it's better if we use apps that cater to letting students read articles, and then including questions along the way. So what are those apps? I have two here. I have Nusella and Insert Learning. I'm sure some of you know about Insert Learning. This is a really good app that you can use. Okay. If you have a website or if you have an internet article, you can just, if you have the Insert Learning extension for your Chrome browser, you can very easily attach questions in between the articles there. Ayan. Ayan, I think Ma'am May says she really likes the app. Okay, thank you, ma'am. And then you can ask them to conduct an experiment. So if it's something that requires materials that are not readily available at home, maybe you can ask them, or you can give them like simulation apps. Especially if you're a math or science teacher, it's important that you have simulation apps so that they can see what actually happens. And one of those, my favorite simulation apps is the FET interactive simulations. No? Yes, from Colorado. Um, I forgot the website, but you can just search it via Google, and then the first thing that comes up, it's usually the correct website for the simulator. Okay, and then the last one that you can ask them to do is conduct an interview. They do an interview, and whatever they have gotten from the interview, they can just type in via Google Slides, and it's better if you create a Google Slides, now one Google Slides file that you share with the class, and then you just ask, maybe you assign one slide per student so that you get to see all of their answers right away. Okay, ayan. Tama yon, Sir Rainier. PhET simulations used in physics and chemistry classes. And they also have simulations for math. All right. And then lastly, Flippity. Flippity. So Flippity is it's actually a set of like mini games already that you can do with your class. But I mainly use Flippity for grouping my students randomly para walang reklamo. Kasi minsan kapag tayo yung nagugrupo sa kanila, di ba sabi, Miss, pinagsama-sama mo naman lahat ng matatalino. O kaya, Miss, pinagsama-sama mo naman lahat ng mga friends. So, para wala akong marinig na gano'n, I basically use Flippity so that I can get random groupings. Alright? So, there. So, those are some sample tasks that you can do in the explore part and some suggested apps as well. Okay, let's move on to the next. On the explain part, let me just check the time. On the explain part, the tasks that you can do are, of course, you can do live lesson discussion. So if you meet your classes synchronously or live, then of course the app to use is Google Meet. No, Google Meet. And then, of course, it's best if you have a presentation with you as you discuss, no? Para hindi lang ikaw yung nakikita ng mga bata at nakikita nila yung you can just put like a really visually stimulating or mentally stimulating presentation as you discuss. Okay, and again, let me reiterate at this part, we don't monopolize the conversation. We continuously inject higher order thinking skills questions as we discuss, and we let them talk, we let them explain, we let them use their own words. Okay, and then another task that can be given if let's say this would be an asynchronous activity would be recorded video lessons. Nowadays it's very easy to record live sessions because there are many apps that we can use actually for this, one of which is Canva. I think Canva is every teacher's favorite. Ano po, there's a lot of things that we can do using Canva. And then we can also use screen recording apps like Screencastify and Loom. Okay? And I'm sure you can think of many other apps to do this now. Video recorders, video editing apps as well. Okay? Ayan, good evening po for those who are just coming in. Good evening. And then the other one, the fourth E, elaborate. So what are the tasks that can be given? So this is maybe you can ask them to make connections to life or other subjects, right? Because this is the part where they are supposed to get deeper understanding of the topic. And then you ask them for maybe come up with a list of real life applications of the topic. And then also you can ask them maybe to explain a particular process. And also the last one, which is something that we often do, you can ask them to design a learning material on their own, which can be via a presentation or a video, right? So what are the tasks, what are the apps rather that you can use? Of course, under the Google collaboration apps, we have Google Slides, Google Docs. Of course, we have Canva, our favorite. And then Google Drawings. I don't know, teachers, if you're familiar with Google Drawings, but Google Drawings has proven to be very valuable to me in this online setup because I can very easily create concept maps, timelines, and many other kind of graphs here sa Google Drawings. Okay? So yon, please, if you haven't used Google Drawings much, I invite you to explore. So you can just search for it or open a new tab and type in drawings.google.com. And Ma'am Analu says she's familiar with Flipgrid. Wow, very good, Ma'am Analu. Flipgrid is also one of those things, one of those apps that I think students will get to enjoy. You can ask them to create like a short video. You can actually set how long the video should be, no, as you go through the settings of the task that you will give to your students. So again, Flipgrid is one of those things kasi meron na rin siyang video editing features from within the app. So this is a this is a really good app to use with your students. Yan. Yan, sabi ni Ma'am Marisa, very helpful apps. I'd love to use them in my online classes. Yay! Thank you, Ma'am Marisa. Okay. And then, let's now go to the last part, which is the evaluate part. Okay. And of course, since this is the evaluate part, this is the tasks that can be given are, of course, assessment tasks. Okay. And what are these assessment tasks? These assessments can be in two ways. Now, it can be the usual quizzes or exams that we normally give via Google Forms now, right? Google Forms para instant checking kasi medyo mahirap mag-check kapag sobrang daming estudyante. Ano po, teachers? So, most of the time, we try to use Google Forms. And then, para mas enjoy ang mga bata, ayan, Ma'am Ana Lu, please tayo Google Drawings. Para mag-enjoy yung mga bata, gumagamit din tayo ng Kahoot, gumagamit tayo ng quizzes, no, and some other assessment apps, right? And then we can also actually use Socrative. So this is one of the alternatives kasi may automatic checking din and ang Socrative. And hindi ko po nalista dito yung TeacherMade. So TeacherMade is again another app that you can use. This is where you can easily convert a PDF file into a quiz that will be automatically checked by TeacherMade. So yun po, check it out. And sabi ni Ma'am Marisa, we always use 5 E's in our science lessons. Wow, congratulations po sa inyo, Ma'am Marisa. I salute you. I salute you for using the 5 E's. Okay, and then lastly, assessments can also be performance-based. Ano po? So pwedeng you can ask them to do something and that would be the evaluation part. Ayan, sabi ni Ma'am Pei, ang dami pala mga helpful apps. Thanks, Ma'am. Thank you din po. Thank you for listening and sana po magamit nyo ang mga ito. Explore lang po tayo. Good evening, Ma'am Christina. Okay, and then also, of course, we can give them digital exit tickets. Good morning. Good evening, sorry. So some suggested apps, aside from Kahoot Quizzes, Google Forms, Socratic, of course, Padlet. Ayan, sabi ni Teacher Leo, Kahoot is an interactive app. It's highly recommended for evaluation. That's right, sir. And we also get a copy of the results, right? So right away, we know what the scores of our students are. And ang mas importante, super enjoy. Super enjoy ang mga bata kapag nagkakahoot, no matter what their age is. Kapag sinabi mong, okay guys, let me just launch this Kahoot game, ay nako, sobrang tuwa na ng mga bata. So it's good it's good that they get to enjoy no as we assess their learning. Ayan. Sabi ni Ma'am Ana Lu, I have applied the 5 E's in English. Is that appropriate for the subject? Of course, ma'am. Of course. You can apply the 5E model in whatever subject that you choose. Hindi lang siya pang science. So thank you for the question, ma'am. And then, of course, lastly, another app that you can use is, again, if you're using Google Classroom already, pwede kang mag-create ng another question and then you just launch it via Google Classroom. Okay? So yun po. So those are just some of the tasks and some suggested apps. So right now, let's take a few seconds break. And yes, Ma'am Catherine, no, grade 6 pupils enjoy the Kahoot quiz. Yes, very much. Now, even my grade 12 students enjoy them very much. So I have posted here a question. So very quickly, mga ma'am at sir, can you please just type in the chat box, what are the 5 E's? And Ma'am Ashley says, is 5 E's applicable for MAPE subject? Of course, ma'am, of course. You can apply it to any subject area actually. So just let's just be creative no in how we present all of the 5 E's to our students. Posible po yan maski po anong topic ang gagamitin natin or maski anong subject area tinuturo natin. Sabi ni Ma'am Arlene, thanks po, I will definitely apply 5E in my English class. Yay! Thank you very much, Ma'am Arlene. Okay. Question. Sir Rainier has a question. In the explain part of the lesson, can students use their own words to explain and synthesize new knowledge? The sample scenario is to explain the first law of motion. Of course, sir, kasi the explain part is actually where we get to communicate with our students, and this is actually where we get to correct the terms that they are using. So, of course, they can use their own words. Mas maganda po kung own words ang ginagamit nila kasi that's how we know if they really understand the concept, no? If they're able to use their own words to explain it. So yes po, yes, they should use their own words. Ayan, so may mga nagsusulat na po. Engage, explore, explain, elaborate, evaluate. Very good. Mukhang tama po kayong lahat, teachers. Perfect. 100%. Alright. Ayun. Thank you very much po sa mga teachers na nagsagot. And of course, you are correct. And Ma'am Alexi says she will be exploring some of the apps that I have mentioned that is not yet familiar. Wow, thank you very much po, Ma'am Alexi. Okay, so next. Ito na po. So we come to the last part of my presentation, which is just the sample plans for 4 subject areas. Sorry po, 4 na subject areas lang nakayanan po. So I'll be presenting to you just a very simple plan using the 5E model for science, math, English, and AP. Okay po, so let's start with this for science, of course, kasi it started from science education. So I actually use this for my students. So on the engage part, I just ask them a simple question. What are quantum numbers? And then the app that I use for this is, of course, Google Meet via the chat function lang po, via the chat function or feature of Google Classroom. Yun ang ginamit ko. Very simple lang. And then, sabi nila doon, I have no idea, miss. No idea. Most of them had no idea. Yan. Uy, thank you po, Sir Junward. Opo, tamang-tama sa classroom observation. Maganda pong gamitin yung model. Okay. And then in the explore part, so since they know nothing about the topic, I then just ask them to very quickly do a research about quantum numbers in small groups. So I launched breakout rooms kasi po lucky po kami sa school namin, we have the Education Plus account. Nakapag-breakout rooms po ako, and then I shared the Google Jamboard with them, and then per group, they were able to create something, and I gave them a time constraint. I gave them just 5 minutes to do this, and I was pleasantly surprised with their outputs. Ang gagaling. And actually, all of the information that I needed, they were able to put on the Jamboard in just 5 minutes. But then, of course, there are exceptions. Now, there are groups that did not do much, but in general, no, most of them lived up to my expectations and even surpassed my expectations. There's a question from Ma'am Donna. Question po, ma'am, is there an app that covers all the 5 E's? Well, I'm sure there's an app that will cover all of the 5 E's, ma'am. I'm sure there is one. Okay, so mamaya po tignan natin kung ano yung app na yan. Okay? And then what else? Paano po kaya kapag walang internet connection? Kapag wala pong internet connection, then no choice po tayo kundi gumawa ng module. Ano po? Gagawa po tayo ng module, and as much as possible, yung learning experience that students that are able to attend your online classes should also experience the same thing ng mga students who are doing the modular modality. Ano po? So sana halos parehas lang. So yan po yung challenge sa ating mga teachers. Paano natin gagawin yon? How do we think of ways to make the learning experience similar for both students who attend synchronous classes via Google Meet, or students who don't have internet service and thus are just left with the modules? So yun po, that's really a challenge, and I'm sure that's a challenge for you guys, no, especially those in the teaching in the public sector. Ayan. All right. And then on the explain part, I just basically launched a video with embedded questions which students needed to answer, and I did it via Edpuzzle. Okay, Edpuzzle is another app that you can use. You can just get any video, even a video that you made yourself, just lalagyan nyo po ng questions along the way as the students watch. So this is again another good idea to ensure that the students actually watch the video and actually understand what needs to be understood from the video. And then of course, YouTube, no, pwede rin naman po kung walang Edpuzzle at walang time, or kunwari walang time gumawa ng Edpuzzle video, pwede rin naman pong we can just show them a YouTube video, and then probably we can just pause the video and then ask the question, and then just continue when they've answered the question already. Okay? Ayan, sabi ni Ma'am Arlene, class point daw may be used to carry out the 5Ds. Okay, so honestly, I'm not very familiar with class point, but probably, no, from what I've seen about it, then it can be used to carry out the 5Ds. Okay? Mami, I'm very sad that we don't have a fast internet connection. Tama ma'am, nakakasad nga yan. But I guess pwede po tayong humingi ng tulong from your LGU. Ano po when it comes to that, kasi sayang yung pag-aaral ng mga bata. Karamihan sa aming mga students walang internet, umaasa lang po sila sa modules. Opo, yun yung realidad din, ano po. So, talagang malaki ang role na ginagampanan ng mga guro, no, ng mga teachers sa panahon ngayon na talagang iisipin natin paano natin maipapaintindi sa mga batang ito nang wala tayo ang mga topics na kailangan nilang malaman, lalo na yung mga mahihirap na topics. Ano po, yung tulad sa math, medyo mahirap intindihin ng mga students on their own, right? So, as module writers, yun talaga yung challenge. Ano po, the challenge, no? Paano natin papasimplihan yung discussion sa module para maintindihan ng mga bata at masagutan nila yung mga tanong. Ano? Ayan. Habang tumatagal, humihina ang mga internet. Tama yun, Ma'am Marcenia. Kasi nga, marami tayong gumagamit. So, talagang ganon. Kaya dapat mag-level up na, no, yung infrastructure natin dito sa bansa. At sana soon mangyayari yan. Okay, limited lang po ang kanilang load, pati cellphone na gamit, karamihan ay outdated na. Correct po yan. So, malaki po talaga ang challenge sa parte ninyong mga guro. Po. So, salute. Ito po lagi ko sinasabi, but I really salute all of the DepEd teachers. Mahirap po yung pinagdadaanan nila. Okay, and next po, you can actually just look at the table that I have on screen. So under the elaborate part, I created a table that they needed to answer. At yung table na po ito mahirap sagutan. Actually, nahirapan nga po sila. So I made sure that I discussed the table along with them. And then lastly, I evaluated using a comprehension check and an exit ticket. I used Google Forms and Padlet. Okay? Ayun. Right? So let's now go to an example for math. Kasi normal na pong ginagamit or common na ginagamit ang 5E sa science. Paano naman daw po sa math? So ito po sa math. And this is for math 10. This is from my vague memory of when I taught math 10. And the topic is on arithmetic series. So on the engage part, I just basically put in there the question, do you know Carl Friedrich Gauss? No? And then, of course, students will answer. No? The apps that you can use are Google Meet Chat and maybe probably Padlet. Ay, opo, Ma'am May, tama po kayo dyan. Mahirap din po. Pero yung paghihirap natin ay parang medyo may kaibahan lang ng konti po sa mga DepEd teachers. Pero yes, I agree. Definitely, it's really hard for all of the teachers, no? Maski private or public. Yes. Okay, and then on the explore part, sabi ko po sa kanila, or what I put in here is, they need to know about the story about Carl Friedrich Gauss when he was an elementary student. He was able to figure out how to get the sum of the integers from 1 to 100. So sabi sa kwento, in within just a few seconds or few minutes, hindi naman seconds, in a few minutes, na-figure out na yung sum, which corresponds to the arithmetic series. Nalaman niya na, elementary pa siya nun. So on your explore part, you can ask your students to figure out anong ginawa ni Carl Friedrich Gauss. How was he able to answer that very quickly? So that would be like their hands-on investigation already. And they can use, of course, Google Meet, the breakout rooms, and you can give them a shared Google Jamboard or even a shared Google Slides. And then on the explain part, this is the time where you can show a video lesson, discuss with your students. Of course, you can use YouTube, Google Slides, Google Meet. And then on the elaborate part, you can give them practice worksheets that vary according to the level of difficulty. And then you can maybe also ask them to create a video tutorial regarding arithmetic sequence and series. No, I found this to be really effective when I was a math teacher. When I asked them to create video tutorials, no, natututo sila when it comes to the topic. And then, of course, the apps that you can use are Google Docs, Cam Scanner, and any video recorder or video recording and editing. And then finally, sa evaluate, of course, we need to give them a quiz. The quiz could be either in the form of Google Forms or pwede tayong magpa-exit ticket din via Padlet. And of course, maganda po kasi sa math na nagsusulat yung mga bata, ano, we can then just ask them to maybe print out your worksheet and then they answer by physically writing on the paper, and then they can just take pictures and then convert the image to a PDF, and that's where Cam Scanner comes in. Alright? So, yun po ang example for Math 10. So, posible po, maski sa ibang subject, pwede gamitin. Let's now go to English. I asked my English teacher friend, Miss Vanessa, about where does speech writing come into the picture when it comes to the topics for English. Sabi nga, it's under communication arts. And relate po dito, communication arts. So in the engage part, you can just show a video or podcast of a short but impactful speech. And then you can ask your students what they think of it. So the apps that you can use are YouTube or Spotify. Now, if you choose a podcast, then Spotify is what you will use. Pero meron din pong available podcasts via YouTube. And then on the explore part, you can ask them maybe to explore what makes a speech a good one. And then maybe you can give each group a copy of the previous speech to dissect. Now, the speech that you gave in the engage part, can you maybe give them a soft copy. Okay? Ako rin po, Ma'am Maria Cecilia, I use the mobile version of Cam Scanner. That's right. Now, very easy to use. And then you can use Google Slides. You can use Google Meet, of course, the breakout rooms para makapag-usap-usap sila. And then maybe they can organize what they have figured out using Google Drawings or even Google Slides, Google Docs, Canva, whatever. Now, all of those apps are pwede. And then on the explain part, you let each of the group present their findings kasi they need to talk at this part of the 5Es. And then you can just provide the correct technical terms to use and build on student vocabulary. So yun lang po talaga role ng teacher dito sa explain part. We are the vocabulary builder. And then apps to use, Google Slides and Canva. And then sa elaborate po, we can just ask the students to create their own speech on a chosen topic using the elements that make a good speech. So magsusulat pa sila dito. So of course, they can use Google Docs. And finally, you can evaluate by asking them to deliver the actual speech and elicit comments from the class. So the way they will deliver the speech can be in two ways, pwede pong live or pwedeng recorded. So kung recorded, they can use Flipgrid or any video recording or editing app. Kung live, then you can just do this via Google. Alright? So ito po yung example for English. And finally, we go to an example for AP, where we have, okay, so these are I asked another friend, Miss Astra, about this. She teaches AP, so I asked her where do the elections come in, and then she said it's inside or under contemporary issues. So in the engage part, can maybe cast a quick poll among the students about who they want to be the next president. No, I'm sure they have their favorites. So you can use the polling feature of Google Meet or just Mentimeter or Poll Everywhere and any other polling app that you use. And then on the explore part, you can maybe ask them to design a clean campaign plan for a chosen candidate. No emphasis on the clean. And it would be good if you also give them a template about what they need to plan for the campaign kasi they have no idea about it. But then again, you can always just ask them to research. Okay? But when they do research, it will take a lot more time to do this. The apps that you can use, of course, the breakout rooms feature of Google Meet. You can also use Google Drawings, Canva, Google Slides, and all of these are supposed to be shared files para your students can work collaboratively on a single file. And then on the explain part, you can ask each group to present their plan in class. You can elicit comments from the audience, and again, build on the vocabulary of the students. And you can do this via Google Slides, Canva, Screencastify, among many other apps. On the elaborate part, you can ask the class to evaluate at least 3 campaign plans at present. So do you see how they are going to make connections now? Noting the elements that need to be present. And of course, they can use Google Docs for this. And then finally, of course, you evaluate their learning via a reflection essay if you want. And you can either use Flipgrid for a video reflection, Google Docs, or Padlet. And by the way, for Padlet, you can also record short videos. Okay? So yun lang po mga teachers, those are just some of my examples using the 5E. I would just like to reiterate that the 5E model is best used for planning an entire unit, no? Hindi lang po for a particular topic. And thank you very much po, Ma'am or Sir Resen. Thank you po, thank you po. All right, let me go to the next slide. Ayan. So finally, to end, I would just like to make mention that the 5E model is best thought of as a cycle, no? Paikot siya instead of being linear, where you go from one step to the next and the next, etc. No? Bakit ko po sila sabi to? Kasi just like the scientific methods, you can actually also start with engage, no? Or maybe you can start with explore, right? So just keep in mind that it has to be inquiry based, no? So it has to start with an inquiry. Thank you po, Ma'am Analu. And then here, these are the 2 best models for the 5E model that I've seen during my research. So this one, I like it because it gives the description for each of the E's. And then this one, I like it because you can clearly see that the evaluate part can be injected into each of the other E's. So pwede tayong mag-evaluate as we go through each of the stages in the 5E model. So once again, the 5E model is best thought of to be cyclical, paikot rather than linear. Okay? And then finally, siguro tinatanong nyo na rin po, how does Google Slides come into the picture? So a while ago, someone, yes, tama po Sir Rainier, 5Ds. It's an iterative or iterative process. How does Google Slides come into the picture? So kanina po may nagtanong, meron po bang isang app na pwedeng gamitin para sa lahat? So I guess po ito na yon. Ito na yung pwede, Google Slides. No? So with Google Slides, you can actually consolidate all the components of the 5E model already. And we just make sure that when we share this with our students, hindi lang puro text nakikita nila. Let's make it interactive by including links, by including videos, by including really good visual elements. Ma'am Arlene, beyond great. Oh, thank you very much, Ma'am Arlene. Thank you very much po. Okay. Glad to be of help. And then also, with Google Slides, you can actually edit the theme builder to create your own design with the components integrated into it. I believe there was a teacher for the Googley Filipino teacher who discussed about the theme builder. If I'm not mistaken, si Ma'am Kat ata yun. Si Ma'am Kat. And I enjoyed watching that video. So I encourage you then teachers to watch that talk. And so that you will learn what the theme builder is para ma-design nyo po you make your own theme for your Google Slides presentations. Okay? And then what else? Of course, with Google Slides, it's always best to follow the elements of a good presentation. Okay, so what are those elements? Sasagutin kita mamaya, Sir Joel. We start with the objectives. It's always good to put the objectives. So kapag nagtuturo tayo, unang-unang pinapakita natin sa mga estudyante, ano ba yung kailangan yung matutunan sa lesson na to? So those are the objectives. And then, remember, natetempt tayong ilagay lahat ng gusto nating ilagay, di ba, sa isang slide. Wag po. Kasi the less text, the better. And instead of putting a lot of text, you put images or a relevant image instead. Wag naman sobrang image overload. So just one impactful image will suffice. No? Okay na po yun. And then, please make sure that you use fonts that complement and not contradict. Alam ko po maraming mga available fonts sa Google Slides na napakaganda. Gusto natin gamitin lahat. Ano po, natitank tayo. But make sure that we use only a few of them and that they do not contradict. No? Dapat yung nagko-complement. Kapag gusto po natin ng isang maarteng font, the next font that we will use, yung simple na lang. Ano po? So basta they should not contradict. Yes, tama po, simplicity. And then when it comes to colors as well, wag po nating i-attempt ilagay lahat ng colors no, sa ating presentation slides kasi sa totoo lang po medyo masakit na sa mata. The rule is, sabi rin po ito ni Canva, if we can just probably confine or limit the number of colors that are used in the presentation, maybe 4 to 5 colors that blend in really well, okay na yun. Okay na po yun. Ano po? And then what else? Again, the simpler the better. The simpler the better. Kasi the focus should be on the content of your presentation and not your design. Tama po? So your design should just complement your presentation. Okay? Ayan. And then lastly, don't forget to always cite your references para ang mga estudyante natin nag-aano rin. I mean, they will also do the same thing whenever they are asked to create a document or a presentation, they will be able to follow your example. So we always cite our references and we reiterate that the information did not come from us. We got it from somewhere else. Ano po? That's intellectual honesty. Hi, Teacher May. Ayun. So those who are still watching, again, good evening. And we're actually already, this is the end of the talk already. So teachers, I invite you, for those who haven't tried it out, to try out the 5E instructional model and you can use it for any subject area. Hindi lang po siya basta sa science. Tama, mahirap mag-upload po ng mga sobrang daming nakalagay. So, ilimit din natin, pag-isipan natin kung anong ilalagay natin. Yan, thank you very much, Ma'am Carissa. I appreciate it. So here are my references in case you are curious about the articles that I kept mentioning a while ago. Thank you po. Thank you very much. Yan, medyo marami-rami po. So, and then si Sir Joel nag-ask siya if pwedeng makahingi ng presentation. Sige sir, I'll give you a copy of this presentation. Siguro I'll just give it via the EdTech unit, no? Kung okay lang po, yun. Maybe I can just give them the link to this. Ayan. Thank you po. And then finally, syempre hindi po kailangan may exit ticket tayo, ano po? So, I have created a Padlet, exit na po ako. Bibigay ko po yung link. Okay, I don't know how I can give the link. Maybe I can give the link here. So this is, okay. Maybe I can give it in the private chat and maybe Teacher MJ or Teacher Rainier can put it in YouTube or FB. Please po. Ayan. Thank you very much. So, yun po, again, if you have time to answer the Padlet that I've launched, please go ahead and answer it. But if you don't have time anymore, okay lang din naman po. I just want to say thank you for your very active participation. I actually enjoyed conducting this talk with you. So, yung presentation copy po, I just give it kila Ma'am Ka. Ayun po. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much po, Mrs. June, Miss June. Ayan, I'm sure sobrang dami natutunan ng ating mga participants and very evident po iyon sa ating chat box. Very active po
Thank
sila.
you. Yes, very active.
Actually, ma'am, no, ang dami ko rin natutunan from your discussion and
Thank
ang dami
you.
pa palang mga applications no, na kailangan natin ma-explore at pwede nating i-align no, with the 5E
Exactly.
models.
Yes, tama
Yes.
yan, Ma'am Kat.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
po,
very
ma'am.
much.
Isa ako sa mga hingi na permission to have your presentation po,
Yes,
ma'am. It was
I'll give
very,
you a
talaga,
copy.
sobrang ganda.
Yes. Thank you, thank you. I'll give you a copy, ma'am, and then maybe you can find a way to share with the teachers who watch para po
Yes.
makakuha din sila ng kopya. Ayun.
Yes, wow. Thank you so much po. Now basahin ko po yung ibang comment. Is it okay, ma'am, if I will entertain some questions po?
Sige po, sige po.
Okay po. So kung meron po tayong question no, regarding the topic, please type in sa ating comment section po. Ayan, so far, no, ang nakikita ko lang ay thank you so much. Natuto po ako ngayong gabi. So bago matulog, no, may learning. Matutulog na lang, di ba?
Yes.
That is very good. Baka mapanaginipan pa nila yung 5E
O,
model.
diba? Oy, ang sarap nun.
Di ba? Alright.
Yes.
So from Ma'am Juliet, Ma'am Shirley, Sir Alex, ayan, puro thank you so much. Ayan.
Ayan, may
The discussion
question.
is very clear. Ayan, sabi ni Sir Rainier. Okay, Sir Rainier, may question. What are the challenges you had faced while implementing the 5E inquiry model in your
Oh,
class?
wow. Very good question, Sir Rainier. Actually, the main challenge that I face is yung paano gagamitin, no? Paano ang dami. Actually, ang dami. Paano gagamitin? Paano ko iintindihin yung each of the components in the 5E model? I mentioned a while ago that I had a misconception on the explain part. Akala ko it's my time to shine. Akala ko I can manipulate the conversation from then on. Hindi pala. So, it took a lot of trials until I finally realized na ito pala yung dapat, no? Ito pala. So, bida dapat ang mga estudyante. I just take a back seat and I just facilitate everything, and I will just be the mentor. And from then on, parang everything just became much simpler. Hindi ko po sinasabing ang dali-dali na sa akin for now. Hindi pa rin. It's very challenging, especially when you start to think of a question that will jumpstart the unit. Ang hirap pa rin. So it's a continuous process. Sabi niyo nga, Sir Rainier, it's an iterative process. So we continue to make our plans better. No, with the experience that we get from classroom teaching. Ayun. Thank
Yes.
you.
I agree to your answer, no, Miss June. We cannot apply specific technique with certain group of students. So we always change, we always revise.
Yes,
So yung po
exactly.
yung dapat natin
Tamang-tama. Yes, iba-iba sila eh, 'di ba? Ma'am Kat, iba-iba sila.
napakahirap. Actually, Miss
Yes.
June, share ko, no, minsan pagpasok ko sa isang class, akala ko okay kasi nag-enjoy yung group na to. And then pagpunta ko sa kabilang room, parang hindi maganda yung dating sa kanila, parang boring. So yun,
Tama.
one of the challenges na hinaharap natin bilang classroom teacher.
Exactly. Tama, relate na ka dyan, Ma'am
Diba?
Kat.
Daw dapat talaga may plan A, B, and C tayo.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Do we have another question? Ayan. Ma'am,
if evaluation is one of the 5 E's, do we still need to have evaluation as part of the lesson plan? Actually, para sa akin, hindi na. Kasi yun na nga yun eh. Yun na nga yun. That's actually, I don't want to replace, baka pagalitan ko ng mga principals nyo. I don't want to say replace. But actually, if you look at the components of the 5E model, tapos i-compare nyo sa lesson plan na ginagamit nyo, ando doon din naman eh, yung mga components na yon. So, if you're asking sa evaluate, meron sa lesson plan, meron din sa 5E model, isa na lang po sila. And also, it's good to inject a lot of formative assessments along the way. Ano po? Kasi hindi rin naman maganda na turo lang tayo ng turo or discuss na sila ng discuss kasi hindi tayo nagbibigay ng mga formative assessments. Tas at the end dun lang tayo magbibigay kasi we are not sure then kung magiging maganda yung result ng summative assessment na yon. So it's good to inject formative assessments along the way. Ayun.
Yan.
Si
Another
Ma'am
question
Arsenia, can we use the 5 E's in giving the performance task, and is this better than a rubric? Ma'am, I don't think so. Kasi parang iba rin naman yung performance task, iba rin naman yung rubric. You can think of like the performance task as one of the components in the 5E model. Ano po, siguro it can be given in the explore part. It can also be given sa elaborate part. Ano po? And it can also be given in the evaluate part. Pero iba po kasi yung rubric. Kasi a rubric is how you measure, the product, no? Based on the task that you've given. So, iba po sila. Ayun.
Ayan. Ayan. Another question from Sir June Ward Resyon. I think this will be our last question, no? Sa 5 E's po, ma'am, na present mo, nilalagay pa po kasi namin ang elicit and extend as part. Kaya nagiging 7 E's po sa
Oh,
amin, ma'am.
oh. Parang ang hirap gumawa ng plan nyo, sir. 7 lahat. So anyway, illicit kasi, no, from what it means, I think illicit is already like engaged. Ano po? So maybe you can try to talking it out with your maybe with your coordinators or even with the principal. I-condense na lang po natin kasi probably baka merong mga repetitions. Ano po. So, ayan sila, Sir Siegfried. 7 E's din ang gamit nila. So, maybe you can also suggest, mga sir, na that maybe you can use a refined version. Kasi kung parehas lang naman yung ibig sabihin, no, magiging redundant. So, yun lang po. Compare nyo na lang po, sir. Parang ayoko magsabi kung, kung ano yung mas magandang gagamitin nyo. But you can just try comparing the two. Ano po? Ayan. Mas detailed daw compared to 5Ds. Alright. So, sige, sir. If your lesson plan is, no, pag gusto, no, it's actually based on the requirements of the school, of your principal. So, kung yun po yung preferred, then, syempre, you go right ahead and use it. Ano po? So, hindi naman pwedeng sabihin na, oy, huwag din ang gamitin niya, ito gamitin niya. So, whichever is best for your institution, that's what you will use. And your students, of course.
Yes. Alright. So, ayan. I think nasagot na ni Miss June ang lahat ng questions natin, ano? Ayan. Thank you so much po once again, Miss June. And we are looking forward to see you again po, no? Sa ating mga Google sessions or any topics.
Yes,
Ayan.
thank you. Wait
Ayan.
lang, Miss, I'll give you the copy already. Kasi baka makalimutan ko. And I'll make it public para anyone can just use it. Pwede nyo
Alright.
pong
Wow.
edit. Opo, you can use it, you can edit it if you want. Hindi naman po kasi galing sa akin yan, no? I just got it from the internet, no? So, syempre, I'll give it. So, ito
Wow.
po, I put it in our private chat, Miss.
Okay, ma'am. So, ipipaste na lang po namin yan sa ating chat box. Ano? So, lahat ng nanonood ngayon and gustong makakuha ng copy ng presentation ni Miss June, ayan, so wait nyo na lang po, ipipaste lang po namin sa ating chat box.
Tama po.
Yan.
At saka, Ma'am Kat, yung details ko po nandun din, nandito rin sa presentation. So, if you want to maybe contact me for anything, if you have other questions, then you can just use my contact details na nandito din sa presentation. Ayun po.
Wow.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, thank you so much po once again, Miss June Maog. Ayan.
God bless everyone.
God
Thank
bless
you.
everyone. Thank you so much po. Ayan, so nakikita nyo po, no, sa ating screen ang registration link para sa ating next Google Certified Educator Level 1 training. So, looking forward po kami, no, ang aming team, the Google certification team, to see you sa aming next session. So, scan na po ang ating QR code or type in, no, or click the registration link. Okay po. Ayan. So, yeah, for our next session, ano, we are looking forward na makapagbigay po tayo ng ating feedback regarding our session today. So, kung na-enjoy nyo ang ating session, maraming natutunan. So, please answer po ang ating feedback link na nakikita nyo po sa ating screen. And also, we will paste it sa ating chat pane or comment section ng ating live. Right, time check. It's already 8:30. So I hope to see you all again next week para sa ating 12 episode ng The Googley Filipino Teachers. Bye-bye! Have a great night!
Good day, this is Teacher Rowan. I'll be your guide in exploring Google Apps for education, for teaching and learning. In Google for Education, teachers can connect and collaborate easily while staying on task. It gives teachers the freedom to spend more time personalizing the learning experience and less time managing it. Students can learn essential skills such as 21st century problem solving, which they can use it in their future careers. As such, the accessibility features will also help and assist every learner to do their best work. Google offers different useful applications that we can use to connect education to technology. This will help our teachers as a 21st century educators to innovate and find ways on how to make teaching and learning more exciting, engaging, effective, and flexible to the demands of the society. Let's re-explore the education experience by discovering new angles to create, collaborate, and communicate as one. Para sa bata, para sa bayan, at para sa guro. Ang pagkatuto huwag gawing komplikado. Sulong edukalidad.